or morning or evening or wherever the heck you are. Gee, I think I missed my cue. Welcome to Women Athesis UNLOAD here on Skeptic Haven. We're going to be talking about small town values and trying that in a small town today. I want to welcome everybody in the chat, everybody that's tuning in, maybe not participating in chat, but we're here for you guys, and we're here thankfully by virtue of the support of our patrons: Sidney Davis Jr., Erica Zola, Tara S., Ryan, Deneen Murphy, Dan D., Michael Weisman, Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Sunny Shell, Aaron Colson, Phil Calderon, and Jamie West. And thank you to all of them for their support, and thank you all for being here. So, as I said earlier, we are talking about trying it in a small town. And I guess the YouTubes are a small town after a fashion. But joining me here at the moment, we have Maya Adkisson and Bree, Hive Science. And later on, we're expecting Mendisa Thomas to join us. So, good afternoon, everyone. How's it?
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray.
We're back. So, what are we going to be trying in a small town today?
I think that some of the lyrics of this song we could examine. I think.
Okay. Yeah, sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think that's cool? Well, act a fool if you like.
Cuss out a cop.
Does anybody think that's a cool thing to do in a big city?
No.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people go to jail for doing all of these things in big cities, not so big cities. I grew up in a medium-sized city.
Yeah, generally, I think most people are anti.
I don't know why he thinks that.
Go ahead, Bree.
I was saying most people are anti-assault, right? So
big cities, small town.
Yeah, I mean, certainly on the left.
Just
remind me, who is the author of this poetry?
I don't know who wrote the song. It's performed by Jason Aldean, though.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Does Jason Aldean live in like Nashville or something?
It was written by somebody named Kelly Lovelace, Neil Thrasher, Tolly Kennedy, and Kurt Michael Allison.
So it took a small town to write the damn thing.
Yeah, but the guy performing it's not even on the writing team. He didn't even have.
I mean, which isn't, and I wouldn't knock him for that specifically, maybe choosing the song, but it's not like I know Reba McEntire, she will tell anybody, she's like, there's songwriters and there's singers, and they don't have to be the same thing. Exactly. There's a lot of great songwriters out there, and I want to help them out, but you also have to find a song that fits your brand, and it's interesting that he thought this one did for him.
Well, there's a verse in here that goes about his granddaddy's gun or something. And I got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round them up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. So it's the whole, you want my gun? Come get it. Come get it from me. Come
from the Klan. Yeah. That really sounds like what he's talking about.
So yeah, I don't think anybody's up for assaulting people, robbing people, and all that. Nobody thinks that's cool in the city or in a small town. And I promise you, people are doing not carjacking in small towns, but they might drag a gay kid behind their truck or something until he dies, and then get to graduate. Because that happened in my
we actually know
class.
that happens.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. So I grew up.
Yeah,
in a lot of
they tried and succeeded to in a small town, like was it Laramie, Wyoming, relatively small town, dragging Matthew Shepard out and tying him to a fence because he was gay. They tried that, it seemed to work out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy because you don't even have to be gay, just perceived as gay, to get a lot of this done to you. And a lot of small towns, I don't know, it's kind of glorifying like this myth of the heavenly white small town. And small towns aren't generally like that. When you think about like actual small towns of like less than 20,000 people where everybody knows everybody else's business, it's a lot easier kind of to get away with like petty stuff because people don't want, you may or may not know that somebody's being abused by their husband or, molested because they're trying to sell under the radar, because if one person knows, everybody knows, even the cops. And there's a lot of things where, man, I was reading stories that came out after this came out where girls were talking about, my teacher was this misogynistic asshole, and he wouldn't, like, nobody would like come out and say anything because they knew that would spark the ire of other people, and they would just be getting left, right, and sideways. I'm sorry, Steph, what were you saying?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, that there's a long tradition, especially in country music, of celebrating small town life. In white country music, it's celebrating small town, pale life, I guess, a little bit. And there's this undertone in here that is incredibly divisive. It's basically saying city dwellers and country dwellers are living on different planets, when in reality, in a lot of cities, there are towns within the small towns within the cities. There are neighborhoods within the cities.
Yes.
I grew up in the city of Boston, more or less, and there are very different neighborhoods in Boston. What you might want to try in Southie, you might not want to try in Roxbury. What you might want to try in Jamaica Plain might not fly very well in Mattapan or in the Fenway, or there's, and within small towns, within big cities, there are social groups of people that you hang out with, and that small town interaction is there. It's very, it's funny that there's an insistent divide between urban, rural, et cetera, and so forth. I live in Maine. The entire state is 1.3 million people. Biggest city is 58,000, I think Portland is. So it's just kind of weird to me that there's this focus, but this song does fit in that tradition of Okie from Muskogee, and our kids don't get high on marijuana. We don't take our trips on LSD. We still wave Old Glory down on Main Street because we love living life and being free. We got Merle Haggard doing that stuff. This song reminds me of that a lot.
Yeah, I think a lot of the controversy about the song stems around the location that they shot the music video, which was a courthouse that was famous for a lynching that happened. And the argument that they gave was there's hardly any courthouse in the small town that didn't have lynchings And it's like, yeah, that's because that's what small towns represent. Exactly. That's the problem. The town I came from still has a Confederate statue in the courthouse yard. It's not the bar across the street from that courthouse is called the Rebel Pig. It's very very rural culture, and they're really proud of their guns and their trucks and all this stuff. But yeah, the fact that every one of those trees on the courthouse lawn has had somebody hanging from it just doesn't even faze them. They don't even think about the fact that those statues were put up to tell Black people to don't be here after sunset. And they don't even think about that. Like, oh, we're so proud of these statues.
Yeah, and it's not even that, like, but when you're talking about like lynchings at courthouses, like that was a thing. Like they would actually post advertisements in the local paper to say, hey, we're going to burn a Black man this Sunday at 2, everybody come. And they would just come gleefully to see another human being die, ostensibly of a crime. But I mean, they would, like we saw with Emmett Till, like a crime was whistling at a white woman or, leering.
Vagrancy. Crossing, like walking down the railroad track too close to the white people town. Oh no, you better not be doing that.
I mean, and if Black people were lynched for making too much money or having to, like, their corner store was too successful. It was just insane. And, but I don't know. I'm just really trying to figure out the lyrics of the song, like what they think, why they think none of these things happen in a small town, like why they think that anybody's with them in large cities when everything they listed on there are crimes.
So I in my small town, again, just anecdotal evidence. I know we had our car stolen from parked in front of our houses by stupid teenagers, but yeah. That's happened in the small town. So I've had my car stolen. It just, as far as armed robberies and stuff, you have to have businesses that are making money for people to want to rob them. And most small towns are dying, except for the fast food joints on the highway, which are corporate owned. Little towns don't got much to offer traffic passing through. Maybe souvenir shops, if they got something famous they can sell.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's weird. I was gonna talk, I'm thinking about sundown towns, where if you're Black, don't go out at night, because. And I'm thinking about the kinds of stereotypes. I'm thinking about the kind of things that happened in the small town of Freeport, Maine, population, I think 4,000, when I was living in Freeport, and somebody thought it'd be a cool thing to drop a bunch of leaflets saying "Join the KKK" in people's driveways. And it was always just, try that in a small town. It happened once and nobody did anything about it. They did some stuff in the poorer section of town, and nobody did much about it, despite my own protestations. But like 4 years later, they tried the same thing in the tonier part of town. And by God, if we didn't have a rally at the community center against the KKK.
Wow.
It's funny how that
cool,
works. Though. It is cool, but there's so much about culture and class. If you get the people driving the Lexuses pissed off, they'll mobilize heaven and earth to say this is garbage. But if you're up down the Wardtown Road and the same crap's going on, nobody gives a rat's ass. It's kind of weird.
It's kind of the whole history of our country, just saying.
Yeah. there's a lot of rebel pride. And I mean, it's again, Missouri is the town I grew up in. So as far north as Missouri, there's people with, Confederate flags on their trucks, people with "Don't Tread on Me" flags, and the Thin Blue Line flags, which are like conflicting ideologies. They don't understand what they're standing for.
Right.
They're just it's just they want to make sure that they're trying to signal their racism is loudly as possible while not saying it out loud. With
one of the lines in this song is, "Try that in a small town full of good old boys raised upright. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town."
So,
well, what are you gonna be fighting for, good old boys? You're gonna be fighting for you're gonna be fighting for the queer couple that lives next door. You're gonna be fighting for the interracial couple that's lives down the road. Who are you going to be fighting for, you good old boys? Who are you going to be? Who are you going to be? Who are you going to pick a fight with? This is the problem I have with the set and the framing of, as you say, in front of a institution where people were lynched. Come on, guy.
The people.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The people that are so again, I keep referencing this, but the people that I grew up with on my Facebook page, people are outraged that anybody had a problem with this song. It's funny though that all the people that are outraged were the people who bullied me as a child, like as a queer kid growing up in your small town and trying to fit in. They're like, "Oh no, we take care of our own." No, you don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
I'm laying in a field is what you do. You take my stuff, my stuff out of my arms and throw it in the creek. That's what you do. You don't protect me. No, you punch me and kick me and destroy my stuff. It's not that.
No, they're talking about those that they accept.
Yeah.
That's their own kind. They'll take care of them. They'll lynch you for them.
If I wasn't queer,
don't whistle at one of them.
Fucking queer, and they couldn't handle that.
Right.
And yeah, they didn't want me in their small town. I fucked up the whole image they were going for. So no, they're not accepting and at least when I was growing up. I don't know now. There is more diversity definitely now in the town that I'm from, but there's not. It's still white dominated, and there's old money there. Old in family name and stuff really matters a lot still in these little rural towns. Not just the one I come from. They're scattered all over Missouri and Illinois and just these little rural towns where they still live by frontier law and think that it's okay to just punch somebody in a bar because they're dressed too fruity for you, because that shit happens, and the person dressed fruity gets locked up too.
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's any way to look at this as anything other than like a Klan anthem. When I saw the lyrics, I was just like, it kind of feels, it's not even a dog whistle. It's very overt.
Yeah, the deniability is just like, oh, if you don't like this song, you must like carjackers and liquor store robbery. You must support that stuff. That's not.
No, we don't support vigilante justice.
Yeah, or punching out the cops. That's not going to fly most places.
It's not
really.
The left doesn't advocate.
It's not going to fly. As far as treating the Old Glory with respect, to me, I might get in trouble for saying this. To me, flying the Stars and Stripes on the back of your F-350 on the left-hand side and flying the stars and bars on the same fucking truck on the right hand side is disrespecting the people that died to put the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia underground.
Right, and they're going to say you're disrespecting the flag by lighting it on fire, and they want to wear it as fucking a Speedo and get their tread marks in it. So, who's disrespecting it worse?
Yeah, I mean...
And it's a constitutionally protected right to fricking step on a flag.
It is, and it's a constitutionally protected right to fly the battle flag of the Army of Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
But so reflects... it's your good for goose, good for gander, and to lump it in, to lump that I don't know form of political protest, and basically, hell, when I was growing up, you couldn't wear the flag out. You'd get your ass kicked out of school because that was disrespecting the flag. And now you got everybody and their uncle dressing up in flag themed stuff. Country singers doing it all the time as if it's some kind of patriotic demonstration. I think it's a little bit weird, but there you go. It's times have changed and all that.
Yeah, these people like love a piece of cloth more than they do the people that it represents. Like the flag is just supposed to, it's a symbol. Symbols direct you or like your recollection to the thing that it symbolizes. A country, like this is just dirt. It's just soil. Like it is nothing if not for the people that are on it. And like, these are people that want to put a bullet through the head of their countrymen, you know, because their skin is darker or because they like to, you know, dress in ways that they don't like, but or they like to, you know, love people that they don't think they should love, and that's worth death. But they would, you know, but God forbid you do anything to our pristine flag. It's so insane to me.
Yeah, I think the subtext is the subtext
but I'm
and the overt.
I'm not a No, I mean it's the hypocrisy for me, right? And like this religion of white nationalism.
And that
where whiteliness is close to godliness.
Really, you know, that subtext comes out really, really strong. Especially in the notoriously racist framing of cities as being dirty and corrupt and broken and garbage strewn and graffiti all over the place. And what's graffiti to some of the people that are looking at is actually brilliant art.
Yeah.
For some of the pieces that are there. I'm not saying that that graffiti artists are always welcome in every place at every time, but you know, there's a large movement of people saying, well, look, you know, if you want to get your yayas out with paint on walls, here's a wall, please paint it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you wind up with community art that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a weird, it's kind of an interesting tip as a piece of propaganda. I'm not saying that small towns are either idyllic or bad, or that people in small towns are all yokels of some nature. Yeah. I mean, I live in a small town. There are people who are numbering a bucket of rocks full of Novocaine in this town, but there are also very brilliant people in this town, and it takes all kinds. It's all great. I've also lived in big cities where there are, again, a vast array of people who aren't real good people, and people who are excellent people. And it's weird to me that we seem to want to keep these divides going, and that division sells. whether it's records or political campaigns or any of this stuff. It's getting people riled up and mad. Like, God damn it, you bring that stuff to my small town and you'll see what my good old boys do to you. It's like, we don't need to have that kind of bullshit in our discourse or in our anthems.
Well, yeah.
Anthem to that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just kind of like, when Jay and Chrissy were talking to Dr. Bob, and I think was it Gnostic Inform? No. Neil from, this is going to kill me. I'm sorry. Asked Dr. Bob, can these white people be thugs? And he was like, you could just kind of see like the wheels stop in his brain, like, white thugs, what does that mean? So like when I'm looking at like the lyrics here, and it's just like, carjackings and, like all this like stuff, these are things that in the media are attributed to Black people. It's a racist song. And I really, really don't understand why people are pushing back on the thought of that. Like they don't immediately see it. It's not a big city. It's not a big city versus small city. It's small cities where real Americans live versus urban youth. That's what the song is.
And let's not pretend, because they have like, they do a projector of stuff up on the side of this courthouse during the music video to this, and it shows basically like protesters mixed in with people doing they mix it in with the robbery and the carjacking. Like, oh, these are the same people. The people that are protesting for Black Lives Matter or what have you, or who were protesting in the cities. That's who this song is about. That's who they mean. They're mixing those people together with the idea of carjackers and thugs is the term they would use for them. Right. They're mixing that all together and saying these are the same group of people and they're coming to your town if you don't be careful. So and they did that like when they had when they were doing the protest, they said they were going to bust them in here during election. They're going to bust in all the rednecks, and we're like, oh yeah, let's get my gun out. I'm going to get my gun out, sit on top of Uncle Jack's shop and wait for the protesters. They're ready to hunt us like cattle for protesting.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of funny because it reminds me of Ron DeSantis packing a bunch of Venezuelan refugees off to Martha's Vineyard, which is a small town, believe me.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little island. Edgartown is a very small town on Martha's Vineyard. And it's like they show up in Edgartown. Try that in a small town, governor. You try that in a small town, you know what happens? Those people get helped.
Yeah.
They get helped. And that's not definitely the Venezuelan refugees. It's not the Venezuelan refugees that this guy's singing about. It's not the injustice done to them by the governor of a whole ass state, the third largest in the nation. It's is he singing about the values of the people in Edgartown? No. Well, that was all meant as a joke for, we'll see how those libs like it up in Martha's Vineyard. It's like, Ron, they're compassionate people. And you just showed yourself to be a kidnapping asshole that picked up a bunch of people for no goddamn reason and shipped them all the way down the East Coast just to make an ass out of yourself. And everybody in that small town of your imagination, the very small town that is your brain, thought it was a good move. And it's unbelievably stupid.
You can't, I mean, in fairness, not saying that anybody on his team is good or that I'm giving him a pass, but he, like, to stand against him is to like lose your whole livelihood, not be able to work in the town again. Like we saw that with a number of public health officials in Florida over the pandemic, who were just genuinely trying to help Floridians live. And like what happened is like the CDC saying that if Florida wasn't a state in the US, it would be marked a do not fly zone due to the amount, like how heavily prevalent COVID was. And they just don't report on it. And this is fine. And like he's just an evil man. But yeah, and this is, it's just more part and parcel where, like Bree was saying earlier, they will hunt us down like dogs. Ron DeSantis is the governor that has it legal to kill protesters with your car. But only, not, you better be sure that if they're protesting against Disney, you would have gone to jail. But if they're protesting against him, oh, well, we have this law here that protects them. So they get a pass.
Yeah. Well, that's where the breakdown lies for me in this song. And I think we might be making too much of it, but it comes.
Yeah.
The thing is, like Haggard's song "Okie from Muskogee," that song came out in, I believe, 1967 or somewhere in there, and that the line that sticks in my head is our kids don't get high on marijuana. We don't take our trips on LSD. We still wave all Old Glory down on Main Street because we like living right and being free. And it was directed against a countercultural movement that was, politically visible, basically the hippies, and the anti-war movement that was underway, and subtext again, civil rights. If I were an Okie from Muskogee, I'd be proud to be an Okie from Muskogee too. But if my kids were getting high on marijuana or taking their trips on LSD, I'd want to be around for them to help them. If I'm an Okie from Muskogee and Uncle Slayton is over there cooking up the meth in his backyard, I'd maybe want to say, "What the fuck are you doing? Don't you know that stuff is poison?" I'd want to see that. I'd want to be examining where cultural mores are failing my small town and try to correct that rather than
not really a
glorifying.
Muskogee's not really a small town, though.
No, I know. I'm just I'm kind of using the thing. It's the same basic idea. Well, we're not in San Francisco. It's the way people always highlight flyover land or semi rural America as some sort of ideal, when there's tons of poverty, when there's tons of drug use that gets swept under the rug, when there are people who are 1969 in there somewhere, big year of political ferment. I mean, we'd been through 68 where King was assassinated, where Kennedy was assassinated, where Nixon won the goddamn election. And similar kind of time.
There's a lot of disparity too in the most small towns between the haves and the have-nots. And it's punctuated. I think in the city, there's so much more diversity when you're in a school, and the bigger the town, the better for students because they can find their flock easier. In a small town, there's not your flock. You have to conform to the pre-made flock. I'm so bitter about living in a small town.
You should be because I mean you're wronged heavily.
Oh, I'm sure they'd laugh about that. And then again, it's the same people that torture you, that say, oh no, this is the most peaceful and best place to live, and we take care of our people, and this is a idyllic dream, like Steph said, and it's like, yeah, for you, as long as you fit the mold,
right?
Oh.
And if you don't, it's like, well, why didn't you? Like, you should have just not been yourself.
Yeah, no, and I tried. Believe me, I bent over backwards trying to pretend to be a boy for a long, long time. But people, because it was a fraud. It was a fake. People could see right through it, and I was queer, and my shorts were too short, and stupid shit like that. And it's like, so yeah, it doesn't take much to not fit in either, because I did have friends who were teased because of other reasons, like I had a friend who had a growth deficiency, so they were really small, for instance, that got teased and bullied. So we got to be friends until he was able to grow and then fit in, and then we weren't friends anymore either. So go figure.
I wonder about the theme in this song of conformity.
Mm-hmm.
That it seems like that's there, much like Haggard's song was. It's if you're not a good old boy,
mm-hmm.
gun toting, flag loving, flag waving person, then whatever you try in our small town ain't gonna fly. That's the subtext that I find rather like, geez,
Yeah, there's a right way.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to get the lyrics back up for a second for reference.
Yeah. It's like there's a right way to raise someone up. It says that's the message. It even says, I believe in the lyrics, about, there we go.
Yeah.
Full of good old boys raised up right. Yeah, you have to fit the mold. If you deviate, you're not welcome here.
Around here, we take care of our own.
Yeah.
Well, who is included and who is excluded from your own? It seems like you're creating a category that even if you do try it, and there are outcasts in small towns, right?
Mm-hmm. Every small town, yeah.
I'm gonna go grab a drink. I'll be right back.
And I mean, raised upright, full of good old boys raised upright. I mean, God, I don't know. I know what the stereotype of a good old boy in my head. I know they're fighting that to broaden it to mean good people, but I don't know. I can't. Not that I've talked to everyone from every town in every period, since the town's inception, but that full of good old boys raised up right. That's a very select group. And I don't understand how you read this and don't see it as a Klan anthem.
Yeah, I just don't, try any of these things in
a big town, a medium town.
In a big town, a medium
mega
town,
city.
You're going to get pushback. I mean, the thing is, what's in the first stanza is carjacking. That's a crime. Sticking up a liquor store. That's a crime.
Sucker punching somebody on the sidewalk is a crime.
cussing out a cop and spitting in his face, that's assault. That's a crime.
That's a crime.
You know, whether it's a cop or somebody else, you can't do that. It's called assault.
No one thinks
the
that's
spitting
cool.
is battery. Stomp on the flag and light it up. That's expression.
That's
expression.
First Amendment, protected right, and
that's not a crime.
It's not a crime. But they're putting it with crimes.
So, you know, all of these things that are listed are gonna be, including the stomping on a flag thing, are going to be addressed by Granddaddy's gun.
Well, so here's the definition of a good old boy, at least the definition that's being used here: a friendly, unambitious, relatively uneducated, sometimes racially biased or misogynistic white man who embodies the stereotype of the folksy culture of the rural Southern USA. So that's who we're talking about. That's our good old boys.
Yeah, that fits my stereotype, actually.
Yeah. So it's a character, right?
Right, which none of us fit the definition of. So
anybody familiar with Randy Newman's tune, Rednecks?
No.
It's very, I can't actually read the lyrics or recite the lyrics here because it would violate TOS, because it uses the N-word rather frequently in a the chorus goes, we're rednecks, we don't know our ass from a hole in the ground, we're rednecks, we're keeping the down. Now your northern is a he's got his dignity. He's free to be put in a cage in East St. Louis. He's free to be put in a cage in Roxbury in Boston. He's free to be put in Fillmore in San Francisco. He's free to be put in a cage, blah, blah, blah. We're raising him up and putting him down. We're keeping the N-mark down. It's racism is everywhere. As I said, I grew up in Boston. I was in Boston during the whole busing thing, the integration into the Boston schools.
Oh God.
It's that's another song that came out in, I believe, I think that was 1970, 69, 70. Again, huge ferment in this country, huge political ferment in this country. Where
I see Dr. Tapioca Weasel thinks that they can be a good old boy. Not with that long hair, you can't.
True.
Well, I don't know. If you pretend it's a mullet, if you put it under a trucker cap and pretend it's a mullet and just let it hang down to just in the back, then you might be able to pull that off.
Newman's song was an anthem against racism. It was, it was satirical. Like, we're here waving the flag, but behind, but in my song, in that song, it's like, we're going to say what the subtext is here. And please do realize this is garbage.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that, go ahead.
No, I just want to clarify that, like, we're not three northern girls like shitting on small towns in the South. I personally reject the notion of the us versus them along race lines. We all share most things in common. We're all, as Americans, and people who write songs like this, sing songs like this, defend songs like this, are buying into that whole us versus them narrative that are keeping us down and oppressed as like the 99% of the nation. And I really wish there were more people willing to look past what's being said to them by the talking heads and understand that we don't have to hate each other. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's and it's regressive, I guess is the way to describe it, because these small pockets, these rural pockets of people, they do take a lot of pride in their rural heritage, right? But the information age has not been kind to them. It really hasn't, and their little towns are dying. There's a lot of strife in the Rust Belt, the Appalachian coal miners, all this stuff. These are small town little pockets, and now the information age is not only has destroyed Main Street as well. It's taken Main Street away because now they can shop. People can shop online, and they don't go to the little shops, and they don't. The money doesn't stay in the community, and so there's no revenue coming in. So the buildings and infrastructures, these little towns, start to crumble, and things like a Confederate statue or some these things that harken back to the 1950s and 60s when Main Street was king, when there was every store, every shop. Now you go down Main Street in a little town, all the shops are closed, boarded up, whatever. But once upon a time, they were all open and all had booming little businesses in them before the information age. And that's these, like I said, the Confederate statues. Not just that, though. Any kind of landmark or historical figure that they can cling on to get tourism is all that they have left for them. So I don't know why they can, out of one side of their mouth, be trying to promote these small towns as so friendly and come visit us here, and out of the other side of their mouth say, but also know that we're gonna make you bite the curb if we see you here after dark. It can't work both ways, right? You especially when your only revenue stream is to have people interested in whatever little niche your little town has going for it. to scare them away doesn't do well for your town. But some of them don't want outsiders to come in. Some of the people don't, but that's just not an understanding of not an understanding of how economics work. It's like you don't want outsiders in your town, but you don't want your town to die.
Yeah, come to our small town. We got Mr. Johnson's tailor shop, and we've got Mr. Jones's cobblers is there for you, and Sandy Miller's coffee shop is over here, and we've got your five and dime that the Smith boys run right down the road over here. No, we got Starbucks, we got Walmart, we got a Walmart supercenter that serves the needs of 7 small towns all around us, and our downtowns are a wasteland now. And we're just all happy to be working 30 hours at the Walmart so that they don't have to pay the unemployment insurance. And yes, we voted for Donald Trump.
Because he was supposed to bring back industry, though. That was his promise to these small town people. That's part of what died, too, because after Main Street, before Main Street died, I guess, depending on where you are, around here, it was in 2008 that the factory industry, the manufacturing industries took a big blow, and all the manufacturers that had factories in these little Midwest towns died out in 2008 when the steel market crashed.
Economics isn't easy. I wouldn't expect just anyone to understand how it works, but I kind of wish they got their news from more than one source, because they are hurting themselves, like they're voting against their own interest. And I do think a lot of their lawmakers would be willing to do things that bring industry back to town, but it's also going to bring gay people and brown people and all those people to the town too. And the locals are going to have a problem with that. So their racism is getting in the way of them actually leading productive lives.
Yeah, it's a neat jujitsu trick, you know, that right wingers have been playing in American politics. The paranoid style of American politics goes back a long, long way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was I think it was LBJ who said, you know, you convince the poorest white man that he's still better than than the richest black man, then you know you're gonna have the guy's vote. Gets you know that's and people use this division and use the demonization of the other to gain. You know, it's like, well, that makes me feel better, and it's a trick. It to get in my view, it's a trick to get people not to realize uh, the dire situation that you're being put in by the people with with that you vote for because
Mm-hmm.
they make you feel better. You give them that power.
Well, yeah,
It's
and it's
a
kind of,
surrender of sorts, really, of your own agency to hand power over to these people who are robbing you blind.
you know, it's like what Matt Dillahunty says about religion, and it's the same as like right wing politicians do to their constituents. They give you the sickness and they give you the cure. You know, it's like you know, we would want to bring industry back, but those damn immigrants, you know, or we want to gain jobs, but those immigrants are undercutting you, or you know, it's not our fault that crime is up in this state, even though like it's predominantly red states, where it's, you know, it's those black people.
Well, it's got to be the other, you know,
Yeah,
black
that's what I
people,
mean.
queer people, Mexicans coming across the border, or well, they didn't have to be Mexicans. Like she said, the Venezuelans, just people that aren't our white dominant little small town rooted society. There was a what was it? Tucker Carlson did a piece. It's been a couple years ago now, where he talked about the small town that was complaining about somebody went off to college and came back. And when they came back, immigrants had taken over the town or something of that nature. And they weren't even speaking my language in my own little hometown. It's like, oh, cry me a river.
It was probably like one family down the street, but you know, they had taken over the whole town.
And they tend to live in the immigrants tend to live in multi-generational households too. Mm-hmm. So they disparage the just because it's not the nuclear families and all that. It's just awful. And a lot of those people are working to send that money back home where it's
most of them.
They got family down in Mexico. They come up here to work. That's why they don't all move into little nuclear family homes, because they're just migrant workers.
Right. You know, and it's really funny when you look at the history of migrant workers. They were very happy to come up here, work, and then go back to Mexico. And, you know, they virtually no crime. And it wasn't until politicians in America started fear mongering against them and closing borders, and that trapped them here. So, you know, because this is where, you know, so it shows here, this is where the money is to send back to their families. And it actually ended up perpetuating the thing that they were so afraid of, when nothing even close was happening before that.
Yeah. It's funny how they perpetuate their own fears. It's like this Sound of Freedom thing that people are going on about. They don't realize that guy going down there and saying, hey, trying to do this thing and saying, hey, bring me 50 children, made a market for them to go kidnap children that wasn't there before. Right. People that he artificially coerced these people into kidnapping children who may not have done that before. It's the same business, right? Same business model. Create your own boogeyman. It doesn't have to be real.
Well, anyway,
Well, yeah,
the
preferably
music
not real,
business, I
because
think. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think Maya has a little bit of a
no, I
delay.
was going to say none of it's real.
It's just
Oh,
it's
I'm
only a
sorry.
couple seconds, but it
Probably.
Yeah,
throws
so
us
you
off.
got a little bit of a lag, and I started talking. What's up?
Oh no, yeah, no. I was just saying, they don't want it to be real. They won't tell you the truth of what's really going on because, you know, they're complicit in it. And if you know what's really going on, like you're going to be unhappy with them. You have to be unhappy with someone else so that they can keep doing the thing that they want to do. You know, being having power and making money. But I'm sorry, Steph. What were you saying?
I was going to sort of try to shift it back before we close on the thing, to shift it back a little bit to how we've talked a lot about the economics and the economic issues around small town versus big city, the bigotry and pervasive nature of racism in American society, and let's don't forget, ladies, here this is Women Atheists UNLOAD. Let's not forget misogyny. Let's not forget the implicit, the omission. Where are the women in this song? Anyway, let's except on the songwriting team. Except on the songwriting team. And what I find is interesting is to tie that all, to wrap it up neatly in a bow, is this song's, because of the controversy it's generated, I'm sure it's making money.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that Jason Aldean is happy as hell that people are talking about this stupid goddamn song. And driving up the place on in everything. Oh yeah, hell yeah! I mean, I had to watch it to know what the damn lyrics were, and it's like, I really don't care.
Way better,
but it's like, and this is part of this thing where the controversy sells, and the implicit bigotry sells, and all of this stuff. There's a market for it. People know it, and they play to it. So we can get like, geez, this is problematic. And I'm not trying to say cancel it all. I'm just saying, geez, can't we think of better ways to approach this stuff?
Well, the thing is there are, when you're not scaring these people, they can be, kind and generous people and whatnot, and take care, want to donate to the poor and go to church and probably believe with all their heart that when they pray for Jesus to help someone, it does. But it's the propaganda mill that drives the people to be afraid of the queer folks, they're coming to trans the kids, cross the street when you see a black person at night, that sort of stuff. It's ridiculous. If they could be deprogrammed, I think there's good people there. They're just scared because the propaganda is set against them. And not saying that they're all dumb, but it's a propaganda doesn't only work on dumb people.
They're scared already, and songs like this turn into anthems. Yeah, damn right. Well, I don't need to be scared. I got granddaddy's gun, and we're going to take care of business in our small town.
And I'm sure that's
kind of seriously problematic.
Yeah, I mean, they're already planning a race war.
Yeah, I'm sure that courthouse is the pride and joy of that town that it's in. I'm sure they're really proud that there was this shot there and that filmed there and whatnot, because it's been set to some movies and stuff as well. But the main street of this town looks like what we were talking about before, with a lot of closed down, boarded up businesses. So having Jason Aldean come and shoot his little video in their little small town probably was a moral perk up to all these little small towns with their own little courthouses with dubious histories and what they can preserve with their revenue that they get from their little stoplight to put into taking care of it. That's what they take pride in, and the rest of the stuff kind of falls apart.
Hey, solidarity from thank you so much. Solidarity from ex-Muslim from the UK. Sadly, this conversation is too relatable, having experienced racism and homophobia, especially worse in the 80s. I feel less alone. Well, you're not alone. You are definitely not alone. We're all here to fight back and claw back and maintain our human dignity.
Yeah,
and shed light on what they're doing. Yeah.
All right. So I want to make sure before we close out here that we don't forget to tell everybody to check out our other shows on Skeptic Haven. We got Secular Soapbox on Wednesday. Thursday, we got the Sunny Spot. That's me and Sunny. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, but we'll be back up and running soon. Saturday, we've got Global Atheists and, of course, Women Athesis UNLOAD that you see right here, right now. And then on Sunday, we have Let's Talk,
which is great. And I want to thank all of our patrons. I want to thank everybody in chat, but I especially want to thank our patrons, without whom we wouldn't be able to be doing this sort of thing. And those are Sidney Davis Jr., Eric Ozols, Tara S., Ryan, Deneen Murphy, Dan D., Michael Weissman, Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, who I thought I saw in the chat a little bit earlier.
Hey, Cindy.
Sonny Shell, Aaron Colson, Phil Calderon, and Jamie West.
I definitely saw Phil in the chat.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Awesome. Before we wrap up, Maya, where can we find you? What will you be doing in the near future?
At Maya Atkinson on, I think, all of the things. So yeah, Facebook, Twitter, and now Threads, Instagram, and certainly YouTube. Tomorrow I will be with Stephanie Holmes Stephanie Holmes.
Yeah, I'm.
And
that's Maya over there, and that's me over right here.
And Dr. Tapioca Weasel has been in the chat too. We're doing brain-breaking science misinformation tomorrow on my channel. Hope to see you all there.
There are rumors that a certain buzz will be heard on that show as well too.
Alma had a question here before we move too far away. What was Alma's question? Got the live chat pulled up. We got a second to take your question. Absolutely.
Sure. If anybody in the chat has, we don't need to shut it all down quite away. We're an hour, 3 minutes in.
Okay. For the panel, do you think this is just another us versus them mentality? They love to make them feel part of a culture. It is. I don't think it's just to make them feel like they're part of a culture, though. I think they really are. I think they have a unique culture. Unfortunately, their unique culture has some problematic roots, and if they're willing to address them, it comes off a lot better than if they just deny it and say, this what we've done here, the way that we treated people in our small town in the past, including lynching and things like that, weren't wrong. The Confederate statues, they don't think it's wrong to have those in their town square. They don't understand that that's wrong. That to them, they really do believe, they really did drink the Kool-Aid that they started putting out in the 1950s of got America founded on Christian values and all that. It's ingrained. It really is part of their culture. This is the Midwest, so Stephanie's small town might have been different, so I'll let her approach that too.
Yeah, my take on all of this is, it's not that they want to be part of the culture. They want to be sure that their culture and their values are have pride of place in American culture generally. What they're feeling is the patriarchal white Anglo-Saxon Protestant and grudgingly letting the Catholics in eventually, right? Culture losing pride of place in America. That in fact we are seeing a diverse set of people achieving political, economic, cultural success. And they feel it's at their expense. They see everything as a zero-sum game. And it's not.
Somebody has to lose.
Not. They don't have to lose, but particularly in the American South, this is part of the myth of the lost cause.
Yeah.
That when they did in fact lose, they didn't want to admit that they lost. And you see the same approach on the part of guys like the former guy who couldn't have lost, who said after he lost to Joe Biden, "Can you believe I lost to this guy?" And so he adamantly says, "I did not lose to this guy because the cognitive dissonance there is too much." And I swear to God, that's why these people are so into Mr. Trump and his lost cause.
Yeah.
So that's what I think is going on. They want to hang on to a culture that has gone down the road a long time ago, and they are fond of in various venues. I've seen people who've done streams about any number of subjects, referring to the other side, saying, "Don't they see that they're losing?" When in fact, we're not. We're not losing. Kamala Harris is the Vice President of the United States. We have the Secretary of State is a black man. We have
first trans cabinet member.
Rachel, what's Rachel's last name? I can't. The Surgeon General is a trans person. We're not losing. We're not losing. We've made tremendous strides, and they hate it. They want it back. They don't want to see it change.
And if I could answer, so she's saying, like, since they want to add trans people as a new boogeyman, since they've been called out on being racist, they don't care about being racist. What actually happened was, like, the news media, and both sides do this, they throw out different topics and they look to see what gets like high ratings or high interest. And, trans happen to be one of those things. And if you don't forget that before that, huge hate for CRT and a lot of laws coming out against that. They don't give a fuck about being racist. Let's just put that to bed. This is fear mongering from the media for ratings. That's all this is. That's how all this got started. And so they're going in to schools, arguing against CRT and trans people. And the right doesn't want to tell them that they're wrong. Because they have to make it look like they're doing something. So they're like, oh yeah, well, CRT is not really a thing, so we can legislate it out. Or trans people are such a minute group that if we legislate them out of existence, like not enough people have met one or know that they've met one, or, or they're just too small of a group for it to matter to us. Like, we're not going to lose power legislating against them. So, let's do that. It keeps their attention off of what we're actually doing. So don't get it twisted. The us versus them is not the 99% dividing itself up. It's the 1% looking for ways to divide us up. We're not making this shit up. They are, and telling us what to believe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's easy, particularly with trans people, it's easy to find, one little thing that gets one person who otherwise might be an ally. Well, I'm with you except for this one thing. And then that becomes a big deal. And somebody pushes back, well, what about that one thing? Let's talk about that. And they get all kinds of offended. It's like, well, I'm right. And why are you right? Because I feel strongly about it. That's why. And I don't want to hear your rationale. I don't want to hear the arguments. I don't want to hear anything about it because I'm right. And go away. And by the way, you're banned. It's difficult to have a conversation on those terms. It's really, really difficult to have a conversation on those terms. As polite as you'd like to be. And because you're being challenged, you're being canceled.
And you have to be polite.
You're not, though.
Right.
Some of these people have achieved positions of great prominence. Have published many books over the course of the years. We'll never know want or strife or personal disenfranchisement in any way, shape, or form. But yet, if you ask them politely a question, could you examine this a little more carefully? They will say, you are trying to cancel me. When in fact, by virtue of your objection, my life could be crushed like bug. That imbalance of power in the equation is a bit of a problem.
Yeah. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. So we got to keep pushing back, because if we stop pushing, any point where we stop pushing, that's it. We lose that step. And we've been going 2 steps forward, 1 step back for decades now. And we have to keep doing that. It's never okay to stop, because like Stephanie always reminds me that they thought they'd won in the 80s. So we're never done. The battle's never won.
Never.
All right.
Well, any last thoughts? I'm going to shelve myself at this point in time. I'm glad to be here. I have a YouTube channel that's I've become a little more active on since November and such. It's Steffi Kath is me on YouTube. I'm at Sidra for historical reasons on most social media, and I'm not sure what's coming up aside from what's happening tomorrow on Maya's channel. But I will be on the Transatlantic Calling Program on the 31st of August. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. And here and there and everywhere in between. So that's me. So please support Skeptic Haven in all of their shows that Bree mentioned earlier. And this is,
you can support me too if you like.
Yeah, Bree, go ahead. Let's do it.
No,
let's go.
That's it. I just Hive Sci everywhere you go. Hive Sci. Check me out. I don't know why the bot out there is dropping my old brain bug.
I was like, what? She hasn't updated that?
Long time.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
Yep, that's not gonna work. They fixed it.
Yeah, there we go. That's better.
Yeah. My production team's pretty awesome. Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to who we got back there, Phil and Kat tonight. Thank you guys for all you do for us when we have a show that we get to get our hands free and just do the hosting duties. It's pretty awesome.
Phil and Kat are pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody here's great. Anyway, any last words? Otherwise, I think we can wrap this up and call it good. Want to thank everyone in the chat, everyone who's been watching, everyone who'll be watching in the future. Please leave a comment for us. We obviously want to get your feedback. Want to know how you feel about the shows. Helps us in the algorithm, etc., and so forth. Like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I guess maybe we'll just
buttons.
Yeah. Tell us what you'll do in a small town in the comments down below.
Tell us what you'll do in a small town. That's it. That's it.
Drive on by.
I know you told your friend you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. And guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away. As you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, 'cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals.